You're listening to Excess Gaming Podcast, a podcast for gamers by gamers, with your hosts Xander Scullion and James Gruesome, bringing you something old, something new, and a little bit of nostalgia too.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Excess Gaming Podcast. This is episode 79. We're recording this on the 17th of January. I'm one of your hosts, Xander Scullion, and joined with me is my wonderful crimson-bearded co-host, Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, James?
Man, greetings and salutations, everybody. It's a new year. It feels like I haven't been on here for a while. I don't know what happened. I just disappear sometimes. I actually had a dream last night. We were recording the show, and you were like, we're on episode like 178 or something. And I was like, nah, I think it's only 70 something. And you were like, and you've been here for like 50% of the episodes. And I was like, well, no, I've only missed like 2.5, I think. I was like, what's going on? It was weird. But yeah, I'm back. It's a brand new year. I think this is the first show. It's my first show of the year, at least. And I hope everybody had a great New Year's, and I hope this year is taking off as good as it possibly can, and hopefully good things will come of it.
Exactly. Yeah, we had a little bit of scuffle on our usual scheduled program because I know you went under the weather. I actually have a shattered wisdom tooth, and I wasn't feeling like recording that weekend. I'm supposed to be going into surgery sometime next week. I had to get a reschedule. Man, that is some hurting crap. I've had 2 kidney stones before, but this tooth pain that I had, luckily it hasn't, flared up since that, a couple of weeks ago. I had to actually go to hospital and try to get something for it. I mean, that is some hurting shit, dude. And it was all because of a pretzel.
It's the pretzel that gets you, because we were talking about this, because I have 2 broken teeth in the back of my mouth that somehow, one causes no pain, one, it's slight, it's scaring me because at some point I just keep waiting for it just to flare, but if I eat something really cold, really hot, it kind of affects me, but other than that, one broke on something I was eating, and the other one was a granola bar. I was just thinking how, man, that sucks how that's like my left eye's bad, my left tooth's bad, I'm eating a granola bar, right then my right tooth breaks. He's like, hey, I'm going to even it out for you, buddy. And I was like, and I even ate that piece of tooth, too. I have the other one that fell out. I consumed the other one with the granola.
Yeah, it's one of those things I was telling you with the way especially the back teeth is, you can break a tooth by just a certain amount of pressure. It just hits that one little weak spot of the tooth, and that pressure from your jaw hits it, and it just shatters. And that's what happened to me. I was actually playing Xenoblade Chronicles X. I was actually off that day. My boss had called out because he was sick that day. So I'm sitting there playing, some good old video games. I'm eating some pretzels, and I was going to film a video. And, I'm moving stuff around my room, getting everything prepared. And I just had this acute little sharp pain. And I was like, ow. And then an hour later, I'm like, oh my God, but yeah, other than that, I mean, I've been pretty good. And 2016 is kind of starting a little rocky. I'm hoping that, all the bad stuff that happens this year happens, the first 2 months and everything's cool. I mean, most notably, we've had a lot of celebrity deaths that I wanted to talk about. Not be depressing about it, but we did lose Lemmy from Motorhead and David Bowie. And definitely want to talk a little bit about David Bowie because, you and I are really big fans of his work. And, this whole week, we've been sharing videos left and right. And what and all did you want to say a little bit about David Bowie, James? Maybe some introductions or anything like that?
David Bowie is just an artist that, being younger, my sister was 10 to about 14 years older than me. And she was really into Bowie. So I'd always kind of heard it lots of times without even knowing. I remember seeing videos, definitely being younger in the 80s, Let's Dance. You just had to have heard that song. And another way he came about to a lot of us was through Labyrinth.
Yeah.
I mean, such an amazing movie, from my childhood. It was like that magical time of the mixture of the, Muppets and these fantasy worlds that were just amazing. The very beautiful, and still to this day, Jennifer Connelly in that movie, who I'm sure was a crush for many young boys. She was quite lovely. And you just had Bowie, who was just... Man, he was just like a sexy goblin king, man. Had that Axl Rose hair, man.
Yeah.
He just had it going. And the songs, the dance, Magic Dance, it's like you can't help but be drawn into some of those that you hear. And it just, it extends on. I was telling you earlier, I had bought an older David Bowie album. A lot of ones that your kind of typical Bowie listener might not have heard. A very folky 60s era, just a different sound. It was very funny at first. It started off as a joke. But from this album, really stemmed a great love and appreciation to just so many different styles, where you have the Ziggy Stardust era, the Aladdin Sane with the Thin White Duke. He really tried to grow with the times. He did some work with Trent Reznor, more industrial sounding ones. I Outside, I think, was one. Heart's Filthy Lesson, very interesting, weird video. You had the I'm Afraid of Americans, also with Trent Reznor.
That's a personal favorite of mine. I really like that song.
They went on a tour together, which is cool. And I know, Nine Inch Nails opened for, that was the thing he wanted to do. Trent Reznor wanted to open for Bowie. I'm sure some kids are like, oh, what's going on? But, he knew what was up. He just touched so many people. He had his crazy down times with drugs and such, but he'd been clean for a very long time. Just, he was a proponent. He had I think it was like Bowie.net, was one of the first people like that to have a dedicated website, fan site, run by him and put out with, different music and things available only to these people. I think it was very ahead of its time. And he's just one that over the years, man, so when you have so many greatest hits albums like him, he's been around for a long time. His last albums I've continued to buy. I think they've still, all been great. Another album, Low, is a really good one that's got a lot more instrumentals on it. When he worked with Brian Eno, he did a stretch of albums with him. And it's really cool just to drive around and listen to the instrumental ones sometimes. Had some great live albums, and just his look, he was one that was not scared to cross boundaries of, whether it be called gender bending, the makeup, he wasn't afraid. He did his thing, and he excelled, and he became accepted by many, and we've got to see so much love and tribute, from people. I usually don't do too many of the post-up videos when things like this happen, but I just couldn't help it. I enjoyed seeing it so much. It's a beautiful send-off, I think, even if it is just on Facebook, for people to show their love and appreciation and share music and songs that are special to them and maybe others haven't heard.
Exactly. And he did have a video game. And that's one of the things I wanted to get into as well, because, the date's the 17th, but Square Enix has a free download until January 22nd of a 1999 game called Omikron: The Nomad Soul. You can actually download it for free on the Square Enix store. Just use the promo code Omikron. That's the promo code Omikron, and you can download it. And I plan on doing it. I've never, honestly, I had never heard of it until recently, and I'm looking forward to trying it out. I know it was, released on PC and the Dreamcast, and that's one thing I can honestly say.
Oh, it was on the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, see, we were talking earlier when I asked you what year it was from, and you'd mentioned the late 90s, and I remembered hearing about it. And now you say that, I also remember hearing it was on the Dreamcast, because that was one I wanted to pick up, strictly just because he had some involvement in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the coolest thing is, because David Bowie had such a huge impact in the in the music industry and stuff like that, and with gaming, and it's kind of nice, because you have a younger generation that maybe they didn't know too much about David Bowie, but this is going to be a chance for them to kind of be introduced to it. And also, if you have a chance, guys that are listening, you can also play the Labyrinth video game on the Famicom. You can just download the ROM. I know it was a game that never was released in the States. I believe there might be some repro carts out there, but that was actually a pretty good game. And most notably, I remember that game being introduced from the late great Jewario, Justin Carmichael. He did a really awesome retrospective review of it from his You Can Play This segment, and he dressed up like David Bowie, and I mean, it was kind of bittersweet because, when I heard about David Bowie's passing, I had to go and watch that video too, and it just meant even more to me. So
got a little bit of double sadness, but some, awesomeness from two wonderful people. You read my mind because I was going to mention that game too. I didn't know a lot about it. I'm definitely going to watch his video on that now. After the show today, because I've seen a clip or two. I know our friend Old Tana actually has that game on the Famicom.
Mm-hmm.
It's one that it's a little bit more of the pricey ones because I've looked up, because that's one I was like, I need to have this. This is just one I just need to have. Just amazing. And why? That's another game. It's like the Goonies. Like, why wouldn't we get Labyrinth?
I know, right? It was weird, but apparently it's actually a pretty good game. It's very faithful to the movie. I remember that was one of the things that Justin said in the video. He was like, if you've seen the movie, even with the Japanese language, this game would be pretty easy to pick up because it follows almost note to note of the movie. So definitely check that out. And, with Lemmy as well, he had a big involvement with the arcade community. He loved arcade games and pinball games. A lot of people, when they talked about the memories of Lemmy, they did say that there was no doubt they would find him inside the bar playing pinball and drinking a Jack and Coke. And he was also featured in a video game that was pretty interesting, Brutal Legend with Jack Black. That was when the whole Guitar Hero thing was really big, and it featured a lot of metal stars, including Ozzy Osbourne. And I still haven't played that game.
No, and then that game. The game is metal as fuck, man. It's I don't like the real time strategy battles. That's a lot of people their gripe about it, because you gotta keep track of so many things. These big battles, but open world. But really, if you just want to cruise around and just jam to a great soundtrack, Judas Priest and Motorhead and just Ozzy, and others, probably Manowar's on there.
Oh my God.
Really, Jack Black's a metal guy, man. He really went all out as much as probably he could on his involvement of trying to get some of the stuff together, and it's definitely worth it. I know it's really cheap just to play it, dude, and if you just cruise around and have a little bit of fun and just do a mission or two, I think it's definitely worth it.
Awesome. And I know it's probably really dirt cheap too, but
gotta be like $5. I'm betting, no more than 10 at the least. But just that soundtrack, man, you're not gonna find a more metal soundtrack on a game that just makes you feel good. You just feel good cruising around in this big kind of Land Rover thing through the hills, stop and beat some ass, and sometimes the real time battles happen at a concert, so it's like these big speakers and there's just so much stuff going on, and like I said, that was my little gripe about it. But other than that, you can't be mad at it, just because we don't get games like that too often that are that dedicated to the metal community. It was just a nice shout out to all the legends that appeared in that game. Big props to Jack Black. Dude's awesome.
Awesome. Well, talking about some more gaming news. Before we get to the big gaming discussion when it comes to the news. I remember before we even started recording, man, I was like, I don't even know if this should be a news story. But I've seen it pop up on various YouTube channels, various news articles, and that is about some kid in Canada who maxed out his father's credit card over $8,000 on microtransactions and DLC on FIFA. Yeah.
FIFA.
Yeah, which apparently, I mean, that's a very expensive game. I guess you have. I mean, I've never played the FIFA games. I've definitely never played this one. But from what I've been gathering is, there's a lot of microtransactions on like buying rosters.
We're
and
American,
stuff.
man. We don't play soccer. I can't imagine this would be like a Spanish kid, or everybody that's so big. Brazil that's really into soccer. I know it's huge, and I'm not knocking it, man. I think soccer is a very I've heard people criticize it as being, a not very tough sport. Like, yeah, you get kicked in the shins, you get knocked down, you got to constantly run. My best friend when I was little, he was big into soccer, so I helped him practice. I never tried out, but I actually learned skills from him that, as sucky as I was at PE, I could do a little bit of soccer in school, man. I could dribble that ball away from people. Came in very handy. Felt good for me, as bad as I was at everything else, to be able to do that. It's a tough sport, and I've never really played a soccer game except Nintendo World Cup, and I mean, that's awesome. So maybe FIFA's good too. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just interesting because when I heard the story, what made me think of? It made me think of the 900 numbers for like tips and tricks that we had in the 90s, and I was like, man,
that birth, that late night TV, like you said, mentioned whether it's games or if it's adult ladies wanting to tell their deepest, darkest secrets, horror hotlines, and my personal favorite, which I actually found. I was so thrilled. I ran and showed my wife. She was not that excited. But there was this one that used to come on. It was the 1-900-909 Freak. And he was a little puppet. And it's like 1-900-909 Freak. Join the party the fast and easy way. Hear what's happening from New York to L.A. Call now. And it was this little orange puppet that was dancing. And dude, when I finally saw it, because I've been looking for that video for a long time, and I really flipped out and made my day.
Oh God bless the internet. That's hilarious. But yeah, I saw that, I was like, oh my God.
900 numbers were a big bane of parents' existence back in the day, because the kids didn't know. They say ask your parents' permission, but they don't know. 900, 800, 900, 800, it's, all the same. They're not sure. They suckered a lot of people, I think, into that and cost them outrageous phone bills. I had a cousin myself that got in trouble for calling something. I remember hearing it was about people peeling off flesh like potato skins or something. It sounded pretty cool. I would have probably called that. I was smarter than him. I weren't going to do no dumb shit that was going to get me in trouble. So.
Well, I mean, the main meat and potatoes of the whole thing, and one of the reasons why I was like, is this really newsworthy? I mean, other than that, the fact that, it was $8,000. I mean, that right there, that's worth noting. But the kid was 17 years old. And I was just like, really, this kid, I mean, even at 17, the value of $1. That it's going to add up. And, the dad, he should have knew better if he was like, hey, my son can't do basic math. He doesn't know, how much these chips cost. Maybe I shouldn't give him a credit card or let him use my credit card. So, yeah.
Old enough to know better, dumb enough to still do it.
Exactly. That's the way it goes. And, the big news story right now is, and it's old news now because of our scheduling, but that's, of course, the Oculus Rift, the future of video games, VR, virtual reality.
VR, man, this is something that has been, God, how many years have they been talking about VR? Probably since the 80s and Tron,
Yeah. Well, they finally released the prices for the Oculus Rift, and it's going to be around $600. That's $600 American, and it's going to be almost $800 Canadian. And man, dude, a lot of people are on the fence about it. There's some people that are all about it, and they're like, this is the future. This is what I want to do. And some people are like, dude, that's awesome. I don't have the money for it. And I'm kind of on that fence. What are some of your thoughts about this, James? Do you think that, it's a little too early for the average customer to be buying virtual reality? And do you think that it's going to be something that later on down the line is going to become more popular?
I have a somewhat, and I try not to be negative on so many things, I have a somewhat down view on the VR. I think with the price point, a lot of systems used to be around $6, and sometimes around $4. So many people nowadays have a have both that I think it's more of an option for them to get it. Some seem excited, mainly clips I see. I'm not sure if it was the Oculus, if it was something else, but it was somebody in a little stand, like they were squatting, walking around in a circle. It just doesn't really appeal to me. Like me personally, if the game is good enough and it attracts me, I can get just as involved and feel like I'm just in it without actually kind of looking like I'm in it. I think one day it's gonna hit, and I think it really could be, I could picture some type of new version of laser tag with something, like this going on in a big building. I think it's still a cool idea. I don't really think it's anything I'm personally ever going to be interested in. I don't know if it's my age or just my slight lack of faith in it all. But I think something, like I said, with the price range, the 6, if it's quality and comes out, it's something that could be manageable. Like I said, with people, a lot of times having 2 systems, you might could skip on a system. Now, is this one that's going to work? This is only the Sony one, right?
Oh no! See, that's what I was going to get into there. Then the Oculus Rift is compatible with, I believe the Xbox One is going to be using it, if I'm not mistaken. But I know it's going to be a lot for the PC market. But with Sony's VR, they haven't released the set price on that, but there's been rumors of it being around the same price of a PS4, around $300 to $400.
They have their own too. Yeah, I've heard about a couple different ones actually. I wasn't sure on which one went to which. It's definitely gonna be a slow start, probably kind of cool at first, and then a little disappointing, and then you got to wonder if in time is it going to be like the Wii, where at first the Wii is like, cool Wiimotes, and a little bit you just want a controller. And I'm just a little bit more of a controller guy, and it's just something definitely out of my price range. I'm interested though. I hope it turns out well, and like I said, down the road, whether it's 10 or 20 years, I definitely see things like this being a way bigger part of gaming, but still probably just not taking over the classic controller setup.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I'm worried about is the fact that the price, it is high for just an average consumer, because, in all honesty, a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people that are listening right now, don't have a PS4 or Xbox One yet.
Like me.
Yeah, they don't have one. So the thing is the only thing I'm worried about is it's going to come out. It's going to be great. It is great technology. It's going to come out though, and it's not going to be enough people as a general buying it. And with that being shown, we all know how third-party developers are. If they don't see the money coming in, they're not going to develop games for it. So my only problem is I'm hoping that they come out with it. I'm hoping that it does well enough that developers keep on with it, because that's really what it's all going to come down to. If it's too much money and no one's buying it, developers are going to run away from it, and before you know it, it will be a paperweight for the next couple of years. Very similar to like what we saw with the PlayStation Move, very similar to what we saw with the Xbox Kinect. And the thing is it is great technology, and it's being used other than gaming, and I think that's cool. It's being used for, the military. That's where it started. It's also being used for medical, to help people, maybe learn how to walk again with rehab. And, it also gives people a chance that, couldn't do certain things medically. They can go out and do it with virtual reality. I think it's a great, fantastic idea. But right now, I think it's way too early to say that this is going to be a significant game changer. Definitely.
Yeah, it's good to see. I'm happy to see, it kind of seems like half and half on the people that are excited about it. And like you said, with those steps, rehabilitation, being able to use it for other things, that's very important. Maybe someone, who has handicaps might be able to do something with it. Anything like that, I'm always more open for people that can't play games and give them abilities too, and hopefully they'll get they'll definitely need a couple really good immersive games to get it kickstarted. And I think if they could start out with a few really good ones that could really show some potential of what they could do, could definitely help to pick up. And then you got to look at that eventual price drop that could go along too. and it could all work out. It's all kind of open. It's interesting, and I mean, I'm looking forward to see what comes out of it. It could end up being really cool, even if it's not my bag. If other people enjoy it, that's just as important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is the future regardless if it floats or it sinks. When the Oculus Rift comes out and the new PlayStation virtual reality, I think it's called the Morpheus, when the Morpheus comes out.
Yep.
Despite if it sinks or floats, it's the future of gaming. There's no denying that, and we'll see how it goes. But what we're going to do, guys, we're going to take a little break. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about games that we're looking forward to in 2016. We're going to step back in time to 1996 and talk about some games. Also, this day in gaming history, games we've been playing recently, and some YouTube shoutouts. We have a lot of content to push out in the next half hour. So sit back, guys, relax, and we'll be right back. And we are back, guys, and we're keeping the tribute in line with David Bowie. That was an 8-bit rendition of... What song was that, James?
That's, to me, one of the most rockin' Bowie songs on the Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars album called Suffragette City, with the famous line of, "Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am." Just a great rockin' song, man. To have that in the middle is a nice little tribute for us to him, I think, is quite fitting.
It's funny, too, because the 8-bit version makes me think of Retro City Rampage or something like yeah, it makes you think of like some sort of like beat 'em up game. It's pretty
nice.
Cool. But yeah, we're going to talk about games that we're looking forward to 2016, and what I'm going to do, I did make a little bit of rules for the 2016 because there's a lot of games coming out this year, a lot of games, and with that being said, there's going to be a lot of delays too. There's almost no certain that there's going to be some delays. So what I did is I'm going to talk about games I'm looking forward to or games that are coming out through January to April. I'm going to talk about some of those games. And I also got some comments from you guys from the XS Gaming Podcast group page on Facebook. You guys were talking about some games that you guys were looking forward to as well. But before we get into 2016, we're going to go back 20 years. During the break, I was taking my smoke break, and I'm like, yeah, about 10 years. No, it's 20 years. 1996. Talk about some games that we really enjoyed in 1996. And I think you could agree, James, that was a very important year in gaming history.
Very monumental, and I like to do these little trips back in time, and this one actually was stemmed from a conversation me, you, and our friend Tim Ballinger were having about an old TV show. He'd posted a picture of it, some kind of science show with aliens. I didn't really remember it, but you two guys did, and I was like, what year was this? And y'all were like 96, and it wasn't that, I'm about close to 10 years older than y'all, and it's not that I didn't watch, like, kid shows. I just started thinking how busy I was that year. I was a senior in high school. I was 17. I had a job at Burger King. I was involved in the ROTC program at my high school, if you believe that. And I also had what was that? Job, working. What else did I do? 96.
You played video games.
I played video games.
That was something you did.
The job. I was thinking there was something else that was holding back my time. It was just, and I think I was still actually taking martial arts at the time too. So like I actually had one of the more packed schedules in my life at that time. And that was why I probably missed that show, because it looked kind of cool. But video games are something that were definitely around. And I did manage to cram in some time for that, because having that job afforded me to buy games, I helped out a little bit around the house, cable bill and such like that. But at the end of the day, around that age, 17, you're going to school, working, get to have a little bit of fun, get to buy your own school clothes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, too, is, looking at gaming now and gaming back then, with our consoles that we have, okay, so we have, the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Wii U, in the handhelds we have, like, the Sony Vita and the 3DS, but, man, in 1996, we had a lot of options when it came to gaming. We had the Game Boy, N64, the Neo Geo, PlayStation, Sega Saturn, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and also DOS and Microsoft Windows for all you PC fans out there. There was a lot of options when it came to gaming, and also a lot of great games came out in 96 that we really hold in high regard. That was the introduction of the Pokemon series, believe it or not. Pokemon Red and Green, or Blue in the States, or in the West it was blue, but in Japan it was green. Guardian Heroes for the Sega Saturn, Blazing Heroes, Duke Nukem 3D, Mega Man X3, Radical Dreamers.
Now that's one there that I'm sure a lot of the guys in the know about that one, but it's a semi-follow-up to... Can you fill in the blank on that one for me?
Yeah, the Chrono Trigger.
Yes, Chrono Trigger. And it's somewhat of a, kind of like story text adventure game. It was released through the Satellaview, which had some, cool games along with some kind of like remakes of Legend of Zelda. A really wicked-looking Excite Bike with the Mario Kart characters in it that it would just always be a dream for me to play. They seem to do a couple cool things on that. Radical Dreamers I have on my emulators, and it's one I just I've heard from a lot of people. The guys on the Retro League mention it quite a bit. And it's one I really just want to, it doesn't seem like it takes too long. Plus with emulators, you can do the little save points and stuff. But one that just seems like it would be really cool just to sit down. Maybe a little bit more like an interactive novel from what I seem to understand about it.
Yeah, that was one of the things they definitely said on the review pages, that it was almost like interactive novel. We also had Resident Evil. That debuted in 96. Super Mario RPG, Final Doom, Metal Slug, Nights in the Dreams, Super Mario 64. So it was interesting because we were seeing games being released in the last leg of the consoles like Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, but we were also being introduced to the brand new consoles of the N64 and the Sega Saturn. It was a great little middle ground. And yeah, man, I'm just looking at some of the
You know,
titles.
the titles
Wow.
that are still around when you look, the big ones, like you said, whether it was your Crash Bandicoots, Tomb Raider was
Yeah.
another one. Tomb Raider and Resident Evil. And here's another one, originally on the PC, we had a PlayStation port too, but it's a game that I just recently got into with Diablo 3, but Diablo was
Yeah.
another one that appeared in 96. And I really see how that one hooked people in. One thing you say too is all these console options that we had at the time, so many. Another too, the Game Boy Pocket came out that year also.
Yeah.
With the 30% smaller than the original. But we had so many arcade games at this time. Because I do remember hanging out with my friends. I had a buddy that actually ran the arcade. So you know how that goes. You get a lot of free games. It's pretty awesome. You can play what you want. And just looking at some of these, if you like shooters, Time Crisis, Virtua
Yeah.
Cop 2, Police Trainer. That's just a classic one to me that I still see to this day in movie theaters. They will have a thing of Police Trainer there. You had your racings, with some Cruising World still out, Daytona, House of the Dead, more on the shooting. And if you want to get into some a major one that just tells you what the time was like, fighting games.
Oh yeah.
I have this list.
Yeah.
That now some of these are in arcade and some are home console. Some I didn't quite specify, but you guys know the deal. You can figure it out. Tekken 2,
Oh man.
Street Fighter Alpha 2. That one was probably on the home front, I'm thinking. Another home one done by Square, Toe Ball number 1.
Oh my gosh. See, okay, I have to take a little moment to talk about this fighting game because it's a game that does not get enough love and not enough recognition, but Toe Ball number 1 was absolutely awesome. A lot of people bought it back in the day because it did come with a demo to Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, yeah.
It came with that, but man, it was a Squaresoft fighting game with the art style of Akira Toriyama, most notably from Dragon Quest and Dragon Ball series. And it had an adventure mode, was like a dungeon crawler, and one of the things that, really, really surprises me even to this day, because I could pop it in, the game has aged pretty well with the animations. Not so much of the graphics and polygons, that looks really dated, but the sheer movement of these characters to this day is still so fluid, man. That's such a good game. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Really, yeah, just an interesting one. It's one at the time we were big on running fighting games, and it's one that was always, I remember we played it. It didn't quite catch on, but it's one I'd like to go back and try again and think I might could appreciate it. A game in the vein, I don't know if it was from 96, but Bushido Blade.
Yeah.
The one, because it had that realism of one hit, one kill. I can appreciate that in a fighting game. I like a slight tone of realism. I've always been a fan of Tekken due to its left punch, left kick, right kick system, which I thought just, made sense. It's one of the, more semi-realistic fighting games. The ones like that, when you look at a DOA in the arcade, now I'm not a fan of the first DOA. I think it was just kind of TNA. I thought it sucked. But the ones after that, I thought it quite turned into an amazingly extra fun game. To me, it's just a little bit more in the fun category than the other ones. And, I really love that one. Another personal favorite of mine, Fighting Vipers.
Oh, yeah.
That's another one I think that maybe not missing the love like, Toe Ball was, because that was a little different. But, the electrified cages just beating people with skateboards. It was silly. Yeah, it was 90s. It was great. One I recently found out about, I've been curious for a while. It's called Last Bronx. It's on the Sega Saturn. And my brother EJ just got it. And I was like, dude, let me know. And he's like, let me eat dinner, man. I'll tell you what it's like. It's like, okay, cool. And he described it to him. He enjoyed it much better than the very first Soul Edge, I believe. Is that the very first one of the Soul Blade series?
Yeah, Soul Edge.
Yeah, he liked it quite a bit better than that one. It's weapon-based. You get a nice variety, I think, from different Okinawan weapons, such as possibly like the Ikubo, which was more like an oar. Very interesting weapon. Tonfas, I'm sure the Rokushoku bow staff is on there. Nunchaku, I think a 3-sectional staff. I like weapon-based games like that with traditional weapons, and I've been really curious, and he's definitely piqued my interest in that one. And then, I mean, on the Street Fighter scene, you had X-Men versus Street Fighter. That was just another start, and, a huge line going up, I believe, to the Marvel Capcom,
Yeah.
Kind of the forefathers. Virtua Fighter 3, my personal favorite Virtua Fighter. And here's a little odd one I'm going to toss out that some people have mixed feelings of. Street Fighter EX.
Yeah, that's a game that isn't really that well received with hardcore Street Fighter fans, but I can honestly appreciate what they were trying to do, because that's when the 3D fighting was getting really big, and Street Fighter was kind of like, we gotta do something to kind of stay in there, so we made a 3D fighting game, and it wasn't as good. It wasn't Street Fighter. I think that was the biggest thing.
My boy, it has one of my favorite Street Fighter characters on there who I would just love to see. Might not be the same, come back in some form. I can't remember his name, but there was some reason. I was big into Alice in Chains. That was one of the guys named Jerry Cantrell, and I just dubbed this character the Cantrell Demon, because it was something with the hair. He just reminded me of him. But he was my character, on a game where normally I'm the, Ken, Ryu. No, man, this guy, Cantrell Demon, he was my guy on there. He was a little bit Blanca. It's just a mixture of a little bit. And he was one of the saving graces of that game for me. I kind of, I enjoyed it. It's one, if I see cheap, if I don't actually have it, I'd like to pop in and give it another try. It's not the greatest thing, but I'd say it wasn't the complete shits.
No, it wasn't the worst. Wasn't the worst game ever, but I do have to mention another game that kind of spawned into a huge series that we'll get into when we talk about 2016. But you had King's Field 2 come out as well. That was from Software, and without King's Field 2, that was kind of like the predecessor to the popular Demon Dark Souls series. It was a first-person dungeon crawler. Man, it was fucking hard.
That one, man, a couple, just, you might have mentioned some of these earlier too, Guardian Heroes, Phantasmagoria, one I've never played, but I've loved that name ever since I've heard it. We got a movie dose of Die Hard Trilogy, Die Hard Arcade, and Alien Trilogy, Bubsy 3D, Donkey Kong Country 3, and Donkey Kong Land 2. Shadows of the Empire for your Star Wars fix. And one of my personal favorite games, one of my first PlayStation games, I couldn't find this name for a while, and I came across it. It's a game called Assault Rigs. Very simple, tank-based. You're in a maze, you collect gems, and try not to get blown up by other tanks. It was a game that... man, it's probably so horrible right now, but I always look for it, and I have fond memories, and I would definitely love to play that again. Blazing Dragons.
Yeah.
Another kind of like a story, interactive game with the voices of Cheech Marin and John Cleese, I believe, from Monty Python.
Mm-hmm.
Blood Omen. Legacy of Kain.
That was a great game.
Kind of like a in-between Castlevania-ish kind of game to me. One I'd love to go back. I watched my buddies play it a lot, and I'd like to play a bit myself. And Clock Tower, coming off the Resident Evil tip, we also got Clock Tower, which was definitely different and anxiety-ridden in its own way. And, there's a couple bad notes. Sonic 3D Blast came out on the Saturn. Not very well received. Contra, Legacy of War.
Oh God.
That's the one I can't remember if I hated because it was just so extremely hard.
I'll say this. I'm looking on Wikipedia right now on that, and it says, released for the Sega Saturn, most notably bad. That's all it said. So yeah, that's not good.
Another new invention of the time, the Tamagotchi.
Yes,
appearing for the first time. And on two sad notes, the Jaguar discontinued. I guess that's always kind of sad to me when a console just stops. And here's another big one, Technos of Japan. A show favorite, the Kunio-kun series, River City Ransom, Super Dodgeball, Double Dragon, Renegade. Those guys closed shops and all assets were bought by the very awesome Atlas. So hope is not lost, and Atlas still continues to put out some River City type games up to this day. So didn't let people down. Another one too, GameSpot and Game FAQ appeared. This was their first year in 1996.
Oh wow!
I mean, how many times have we gone on to GameFAQ? Just amazing stuff, The Pokemon, and here's a couple list of a couple movies that were hot during that time. I'll do real quick. Independence Day.
Classic. We're getting a sequel now.
Twister.
Nice. Scared the shit out of me every time there was a thunderstorm.
Mission Impossible.
Nice.
Show Me the Money, Jerry Maguire. Ransom, which I think had Mel Gibson. 101 Dalmatians. That might be the only movie I've seen on this list. I saw Independence Day. The Rock and The Nutty Professor. And just to throw out a couple for fun, I picked a couple songs that were hits this year. One death around that year, too, actually, was the death of Tupac.
Oh, wow.
Who has one of the songs on the hot list of How Do You Want It, featuring Casey and JoJo. Had a little bit of Always Be My Baby, Mariah Carey. See You at the Crosswords, the Bone Thugs and the Harmony.
Oh, dude, that music video is freaking awesome.
Just classic. I love the Bone Thug, man. The Macarena. Oh, man. Jeez. Spice Girls were hitting around, and even had bands like, I was a big fan of Gravity Kills back in the day. I think they were on maybe the Mortal Kombat soundtrack, had a slight, industrialness to them, a little bit more, maybe some synthesized stuff, man. They were kind of cool at the time. Anyway, it was a really big year. Like we said, the launch of the 64, the first true 64-bit system. Sorry, Jaguar. And then just the amazing games from that, you get that new system, you had, your Saturn kind of hanging on, PlayStation flourishing, Nintendo, you had handhelds, didn't focus too much on the PC. Hey, Phantasmagoria was a PC game. I mentioned that. We're just not too familiar with it, but there was many great games, just all over the place, so many choices, just for me, I was younger, the bright future ahead of me in 96 as a senior in high school, and just lots of fun games, and just, it's kind of hard to think that was 20 years ago.
I know, like I said, I thought it was 10. Before we got back on, I was like, man, this is like 10 years ago. No, it's
what were
20.
you, like 7, right?
Oh, yeah, dude, I was a little whippersnapper in the arcades playing Street Fighter 2.
There you go. It's good times for everybody. Me at 17, you at 7. Everybody's still, playing games and having fun. I think overall that one was. I had the normal pangs of high school life in '96, but overall, man, hey, you had some money in your pocket, going to school. Life was it was not that bad.
Yeah, and before we go back into present time of 2016, I do have a couple of last little tidbits of on this day in gaming. That's going to be this day, which is the 17th of January. Let's see, we had Mega Man 8 for the Sega Saturn was released in Japan back in '97. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games for the DS was released on this day in Japan 8 years ago. That's 2008. Phoenix Wright. Phoenix Wright.
Got to get all racist because it's Japanese.
Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Justice for All on the DS was released on 2007. That was a really good game. Also, the last two I wanted to mention was Ikaruga for the GameCube was released 13 years ago, and so was
Classic.
So was Metroid for Europe on the NES in 1988. The UK was released to introduced to Metroid around this time. Wow, like freaking 28 years ago. Wow. Well,
that time thing, man, it just does not stop going, dude. It just.
I know, jeez. It's crazy. Now, what I did is I went and pulled up a compile of games that are coming out in 2016 that I'm looking forward to, and you can jump into James. But like I said, with the delays of 2016, I didn't want to go through everything. I just try to keep it safe with January through April. Let's see what's coming out in January. The Life is Strange Limited Edition's coming out as it's an actual physical copy box set that Square Enix is putting out, and I know right now it's being very limited. I keep getting emails from Square being like, we're almost out of limited editions, and I finished the game. I really enjoyed it. I do want to get a physical copy of it eventually, but I didn't want to spend the money on the special edition. But Life is Strange is strangely a very good game.
Yeah, that's the one I know. I downloaded a couple episodes, and I really need to. I'd gotten in my big, kind of adventure game with the Wolf Among Us, The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones. I was on it. I kind of have a little like psycho-obsessive thing when I get on a kick, and I get so much, and then I was like, whoa, I got too many. Now I got to slow down. But I got a couple Life is Strange episodes, and I know you were telling me about that. I really want to check that one out. So it's great to see games like this that, do well, people obviously loved, and to come out and get a physical release. A lot of us, we want the physical. I don't mind. If it's a game I really like, I'll do the download. Hey, I'll clear up the space, and if I really like the game, I'll get the physical copy too. And that way, it's always there, like we said.
Yep. Also, Final Fantasy Explorers is coming out for the 3DS, and I've had this game under my radar. They had a special edition come out for it that looked really cool, but I don't know too much about it, so I didn't want to drop the extra cash on it. Also,
the only thing I've heard, it's a little bit more in the Monster Hunter vein.
Ah. That'd be interesting.
See, we're getting a slew. It's like the Final Fantasy Explorer, and then I know this is one you'd be pretty excited about. I might have read your mind before you mentioned it, the Dragon Quests.
Yeah.
Not only getting 7 and 8, and 8 I believe is the one you can play in 3D mode or do an old school like top-down 16-bit, along with Dragon Quest 11, not actually confirmed the US, but it's 3DS and PS4, and a Dragon Quest Theater Rhythm game, which we both loved, the Final Fantasy ones. My brother recently got Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm, and he sat there and played it all day.
It's so good. It's one of my favorite rhythm games.
They really are. I mean, DS, you can say, has got a lot of ones, but the ones they put out that are quality are definitely worth getting. And I mean, I really... I'm not big into RPGs, but just the music, the way it played, the Dragon Quest one definitely interests me too. I think that Theater Rhythm system of game, could go along well with a lot of different franchises, and it'd just be cool maybe to see a few more of those.
I think it's a good introduction too for someone who's not really that knowledgeable about the series, maybe had never played Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy. It'd be a great way to be introduced to the characters and the music. I mean, that's the visuals and the sound would maybe get them to want to try the series out. Now, Rise of the Tomb Raider is going to be coming out for PC on the 29th of January. I'm still waiting for it to come out on PS4. I know it's not going to come out for PS4 until towards the end, last leg of 2016. That's what I've been hearing, but I've watched gameplay from Amanda playing it on live stream. You've played it on the 360, and you said it was really good, so I'm looking forward to it.
It's so dope, man. I loved it. I know you said you haven't played the original one, correct?
Right.
So since you got a little bit of time, I'm not playing my original one, so like I'm gonna send that one to you,
Oh,
so you
nice.
can and go in the time. Because if you love this one, I can automatically tell you the second one is just like, whoa, it's way better. And I was really into the Uncharted series for a minute. I played a little bit of one. My brother sent me two. Really got into two. But man, it's something about Tomb Raider to me. And they might have, broken off a little bit from the Uncharted pattern, and took a little bit after them. But man, Tomb Raider 2 to me, the rise of was just, man, it was so perfect. I sat there and played for half a day, just straight. A lot of stuff to do, fun. The exploration was bumped up, the secret caves. I really love that. Gives me that Indiana Jones feeling, where it's,
Yeah.
you can't get to it right away. You might miss it. They are kind of hidden, so you do have to explore the hunting, the collecting skins. I'm getting ready to be involved in a big war. One of my top games of last year, I could say, is just pure fun. That once again, I talked about escaping, with like virtual reality. That game just on my couch was able just to suck me in and put me in this, I felt danger. I felt tense when I was going to fall. I really have nothing but great things to say about that game. I absolutely loved it. I was glad it came out on 360, and I'll be glad when other people get to experience it too.
Yeah, now, freaking February? Oh my gosh. Okay, January, that's pretty much the meat and potatoes that's coming out in January. There's going to be some good titles. But when you hit February, this is where your wallet is going to start crying. And I mean to tell you, man, I've already made like a notepad on my desktop of like a list of games and prices that I've like pre-ordered just so I can keep tabs on my financials with my gaming, because I mean there's going to be so much in February. Okay, February we have the new Naruto Ninja Storm 4 is coming out. I was kind of late into the game with the whole Naruto series, but I know I finished it. Finished Shippuden all the way to the latest episode. I'm waiting for all the filler to get done, so I'm looking forward to playing the game. Also, XCOM 2 is coming out, which is a fantastic strategy game. You also have, finally, Mighty Number 9. It's coming out in February.
Here's a little odd one for you. I remember playing the demo of the first one, but Project X Zone 2.
Yeah.
Remember, it combined, Namco Bandai, Sega. Nah, I don't remember. It was about 4 or 5 companies that all jumped.
Yeah.
Capcom. And here's the greatest part. I read about it, and they say one of the best things is you can play tough guy from Yakuza, Kazuma Kiryu, and punch pretty boy Leon from Resident Evil in the face. So Yakuza characters are going to be on Project X Zone. So it's possible I might pick that up just because I'm a fanboy for that. And I thought the first one was interesting. Not exactly my bag, but I liked the idea of it and just kind of the fan service and all the characters. I thought was pretty cool.
Nice. Of course, you have the infamous Street Fighter V finally dropping as well. I'm really excited about that. I got the special edition pre-order for that. It comes with the Ryu statue and art book and all that jazz. So that's coming out.
I got those two at the top of my list. Just mentioning the big slew of fighters from '96. With Street Fighter V, and because I'm always interested to see what they do. Love Street Fighter and Tekken 7.
Yeah.
Supposedly, 20 years after the original. Supposedly the last one. Dark story. The final ending to the Mishima clan. I love Tekken. I'm really, if this is the last one, who knows? I kind of like the Tekken versus Street Fighter. I have that, or Street Fighter versus Tekken. Not sure which one. One didn't come out, but always look forward to a new Tekken. So it's great to see 2 top level fighting games coming out this year.
Definitely. And also, I might actually break my oath of not buying any Ubisoft games. I haven't bought an Ubisoft game for probably about 3.5 years. Buying it new anyway. But Far Cry Primal is coming out. And this, I'm not a big first-person shooter fan. I'm not really into a lot of that stuff. But Far Cry Primal looks really interesting to me. It's like a breath of fresh air because
That shit sounded cool. I was
Yeah.
just reading about that, man. The like prehistoric animals, the crazy tribes trying to kill you, get them to fight each other, ride. It just sounded wild, man. I love it.
And the fact that you could train a hawk to go and get materials and come back to you, I'm like, dude, this is like Beastmaster meets Turok meets...
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it said. It made me think of Turok, and then it's like you're pretty much a Beastmaster. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I am all about that. Also, and now one of the listeners on the show, Jared, he's a big fan of Plants vs. Zombies, and that's getting a sequel, and that was actually not that bad of a game. I watched Amanda play it on the Xbox One, and it's really cartoony, and it's a first-person shooter. It's very like Call of Duty-ish, but it was really interesting. So you got GW2, Plants vs. Zombies, and last but not least is going to be Bravely Second in Lair, which I was a big fan of Bravely Default. So yeah, I'm probably gonna be getting the second one of that. That was really interesting.
And for you Pokemon fans, coming to the eShop, they got the Pokemon, I think red, yellow, and whatever color. They had those special edition 2DSs in Japan come out to commemorate that. And if you're into the Pokemon Picross is another one coming out. I love the Picross games, and they're always fun, especially I think if anybody's a Pokemon fan and you've not played a Picross, that'd be a chance to check one out. It's kind of like a puzzle game, reveal the picture, and apparently as you unlock the pictures of the Pokemon, they can assist you in the other puzzles by giving you hints and such.
Nice. Now, we also have, for March, we're going to go into March now, Twilight Princess HD for the Wii U. That's coming out. I got that pre-ordered with the Twilight Princess amiibo. I'm really looking forward to it because I have Twilight Princess on the GameCube, and while it's not my favorite Zelda, I don't think it's complete garbage, but I'd love to replay it and give it a second chance. So that's coming out. Also, Tom Clancy's The Division is coming. Hitman, which we found out Hitman is more going to be an episodic adventure by Square Enix. And Hyrule Warriors Legends, I believe that's going to be for the 3DS. And
Yep. One on my list, I just noticed. I thought it was PC only, but it's going to be PS4 also, called Firewatch. The only thing I really read was like you're searching for two missing women. It's a very decision-based game that can affect everything, from the ending to the environment to supposedly just little things that can happen. I really like that idea in games. And Quantum Break, that's going to be an Xbox One game made by the makers of Max Payne and Alan Wake.
Mm-hmm.
That just kind of throws up a green flag, like, hey, Alan Wake going on in that. A little bit of time travel. Sounds cool. And we got another game from Quantic Dreams, who made Heavy Rain, which is a big fan of, called Detroit Become Human. Sounds like it's got a little bit more sci-fi element to it, but still definitely one I'm looking forward to because I enjoyed Heavy Rain so much.
Yeah, definitely. Now going into March, actually we just got out of March. Going into April, we have a couple of games coming out. You mentioned Quantum Break, that's coming out. Also, Dark Souls 3. I'm very excited about that. A new Ratchet and Clank game that's going to be based off the brand new movie. And then I had to say, while the movie, I'm kind of like, okay, I might go see that. The game looks awesome. The game looks amazing. I'm so glad to see PlayStation bringing back some old IPs, some old 3D platformer IPs. Maybe we'll see a new Sly Cooper. Maybe we'll see a new Jak and Daxter. Maybe Spyro come back out of nowhere, and Crash Bandicoot. One can only dream.
How is the? I've seen they got the little HD collection of the Sly Cooper. Have you played those games before?
I have it on PS2, the original Sly Cooper, and it was really fun. It's really fun. I would say if you could find the HD remaster on PS3 of the whole collection really cheap, snag it.
Yeah, it always looked cool, and that one to me, I remember seeing, the Crash, the Ratchet, and them, and that one just always appealed to me. Something about the look of it, and the HD upgrade one seemed to look really good too.
Yeah, definitely. And let's see, the last little leg before we get into some of our listeners, what they had to say. Of course, we got Uncharted 4 and Star Fox Zero.
Yeah, Uncharted 4, like I said, those are great. My love falls a little bit more with Tomb Raider, but I can't knock Uncharted, man. It's a great series, I think, for Sony, to have exclusive to their systems. They've just, always been quality. It's like a movie. I've had fun every time I've played those outstanding games.
Definitely. Now I asked the listeners on the podcast group page on Facebook, which you guys are listening. If you're not a part of our group page on Facebook, just look up Excess Gaming Podcast on Facebook and join the community. I asked what games were they looking forward to in 2016. Now I had Carcamo Gaming and Tyler both said Doom and Uncharted 4. Jason, our good friend Jason, says Zelda U and Dark Souls 3. Altano says, wait, you can buy new games?
New games.
James said Gravity Rush 2, PS4, Dissidia, Zelda, Persona 5. I'm hoping the rumors about a new Devil May Cry and Soul Calibur coming are true as well. And then the last little leg was from Jason commenting saying, it looks like let's see, what game were they talking about? Nioh. He says he feels like it's going to be a sleeper hit, and he says that it looks very close to Onimusha. So, yeah, I mean, I wanted to look that up. I never actually hadn't heard of that game.
Yeah, Onimusha's one. I want to say recently I heard that I don't know if someone got the license, or there's been some talk of doing another Onimusha.
Yeah.
Which we've mentioned that before as a series. We definitely like to see come back at you had one seemed about every year for a bit. They were always good, and kind of goes away, and absence can make the heart grow fonder, and hopefully we'll get that. And along with Me Too, there's a lot of, especially for the PS4, the newer systems, I see a lot of download titles that just look like they would be really fun. I know one on the Xbox One. I've heard our friend Gabe mention the Ori and the Blind Forest.
Oh, yeah.
Just seems, really cool. I'm still waiting for, I can't remember the name. It came out on PS4. It was supposed to come out on the Vita also. Something with an A. Advent. I don't know. I got lost on that one. But it's supposed to be really good, kind of Metroid-based, focused on kind of, glitching your way through. And the Vita version was still supposed to be coming, but how things like that go. Sometimes they take a long time or just, don't come out.
Exactly. I know what game you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it, and I know Games of War is like, if he's listening, he's going to be very pissed off at us, because this is a game that he always recommends. And, with tax season coming, I was thinking about getting a Vita, just because there's been so many great games. And I guess it's a great segue to go into YouTube shout-outs. I had a YouTube channel I did want to shout out, but I'm going to go ahead and shout out Games of War as well, because he recently just uploaded his Games Room tour. I think it's like part 1. I think he's going to do another part to it as well. But what I like about his room tour video is the fact that not only is he showing you what games he has in his collections, but he is full of recommendations. I mean, honestly, I had a notepad and a piece of paper and a pen, and I was writing down all these games that he was recommending.
He is my source for finding interesting. A lot of the Vita games that come out seem to be a little bit more RPG. It's not my thing, but still, he's how I see these interesting Vita games, no matter where. Like, he's my source for that. So, like, he's a great guy. He's been on the show before. Great channel. Especially if you want to know about the hot Vita games you need to get, and before they get too scarce. You need to be friends with him and, get all the updates, because he definitely keeps it posted and gets some really cool looking Vita games.
Yeah, so that's going to be the first YouTube shout out for this segment, and that's Games of War, and that's That's with a Z, not a S. So it's Games of War. Definitely check his channel out. But another shout out I did want to talk about because he's making a comeback, and I've talked to him off and on Facebook. I really enjoy his channel. He's a really humble guy. I mean, he didn't have the best luck last year, but he's coming back with a vengeance, and that is Mike Maverick, the Ace Gamer, the host of the Ace Gamer show. And what I like about his stuff is it's got a lot of great production. You can tell he puts a lot of thought and creativity into his channel. But what I like about it is he has the Ace Gamer show where, he gets a game and he tries to beat it. And he's like, if I can play it, I can ace it, And at the end, it's like, did he ace it? Did he not ace it? What's going on? And he reviews it. Definitely check his channel out. In the description of this episode, I will have a link to Mike Maverick's show and also to our friend Josh, Games of War. So definitely check those guys out. Definitely, I know 2015 we didn't have a whole lot of guests on the show, and a lot of that's just because of our scheduling and work and everything. But that is one thing I do want to kind of say for 2016. I do plan on wanting to have some more guests on the show, because I know 2014, 2013 we were having like a guest every other episode, but with scheduling and real life things, that's not always the case. So definitely.
Definitely something to look forward to. I think I agree with you. That's something that will happen, whether it's some new voices you've never heard or some past friends from the past. Because it's always been a while and things change. It's just good to catch up with everybody and
Exactly.
give them a chance to tell what's going on with their stuff too.
Exactly. And what we're going to go into our last little segment, and that is games we've been playing recently. So I'm going to go ahead and have you start out, James. What games have you been playing?
Well, mine, of course, I was still on the big Yakuza kick, and I'd kind of not played it for a couple days, and I really just took a little sabbatical from it. Not that I couldn't play it every single day. I just wanted to, I really want to stretch it out and savor it, and I'm at the start of a new chapter, so plus two, I'm so good at it, I can just go back and know right where I am and pick up where I left off. I had been watching a lot of Sopranos lately. That's not quite a game, but I started around last Christmas, and I've just been booking through seasons. I've had a little bit of time off. I actually had a little 5-day stretch of time off this weekend, which has been pretty amazing. I did hit up a couple stores. I went to GameStop, and they have a little rack I found with DS games, and they're in the little, yellow disc holders. They usually range from 99 cents to $3, and I just flip through, and if it looks decent and it's cheap, I buy it. If I'm not sure I have it, I buy it anyway for a friend. Like I got Xander a copy of Cooking Mama 2, which is a very fun DS game.
It is.
The DS games like that, you get some that are hokey and bad, like we mentioned, but you get those standouts, whether it's a Theatrhythm or, a Cooking Mama, a game that uses the stylus, but it's fun. And I picked up a game called Science Papa.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
So I'm like, this has got to be just Cooking Mama with a science experiment. So I popped in a little bit earlier, played it. I'm going to say so far it's not quite as fun as the Cooking Mama. There's maybe not quite as many different things to do, but I only did a couple experiments, and so far I've enjoyed it. And I've been a little bit big into these more crime games you can get. There's lots of them on the 3DS. I recently got one called Jake Hunter I talked about before. It was a Famicom series, and they put it out on a 3DS, and they give you pretty much 3 games on one. And, it's just, you're a PI, and you go around, solve clues, talk to people. It's one of those games either I think you're probably into or not into. And lately I've just been digging them, and I've really enjoyed this little cheap section. Apparently they had a lot more, because the GameStop chick told me, she said, we had a stockpile before Christmas. She's like, and it wasn't people stealing them, because I guess they're very easy to steal, And she said they actually were counted out and just people selling them, but they're so cheap, and there's really some decent titles. I picked up without knowing 3 3DS titles for $3 or less. I think I got like a racing one called Crush. couple other ones. One of the funnier games I picked up was like Women's Mysteries, Crimes of Passion. And I said, this just really sounds weird, but maybe it's a murder mystery. And I popped it in, and it's one of those games where you hold the 3DS like a book. And which that's just kind of, I like that. You know, I forget how there was a couple games that did that. It just kind of gives you a slight different feel, you know, like you're playing a bit of a novel. But I accidentally hit the power button, and I didn't get too far in that. Always still picking up a couple Game Boy games. I've managed to run into a little bit more bad luck of ones I'm getting that just aren't working. I could try to clean them, and just got a couple duds lately. And probably one of the last things I got was one of the coolest things. It was some friends of ours had gone to get tattooed by my wife, a friend Leanna and her husband Ian, who went to a lot of Xander's show when he played in Rictus Grimm. We listened to a lot of the same music. Very cool couple. And they'd brought something to Liz to give to me, and it was actually one of the Nintendo EverDrives.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And, you know, they gave it to me loaded up with games. It's got the little, you know, just SD cards you can put stuff on, pop it in. Actually, I popped it in my top loader. I wasn't even sure. I said, well, I don't know if it'll work on top loader or the other one, but it was plugged in. And, man, it loaded up. I admit the little screen, just trying to get to the games, was a tad bit confusing for me. But it really took me back because, you know, I don't do a whole lot for Christmas. Really didn't do anything this year. And that was like a Christmas present I got, you know. I was just it really made my day. I was thankful for it, and I actually saved that till Christmas morning, along with a couple other Nintendo games I picked up recently, because I like to try to play like a new game on Christmas morning when I can. It's just a little old tradition I've tried to bring back that I've been doing for the past 3 years or so. So I popped that in, you know, and it's some newer emulators than I have on my Xbox. So it's a couple more, you know, games that have been released and whether they're incomplete or not. And just had a blast playing that. It's cool to play those on the Xbox, but to actually get to play it on a cartridge in your Nintendo, it's just, it gives you a little bit different feeling. It feels a little bit more real, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But other than that,
cool. You got that.
Yeah. It was really amazing. It's one, you know, they make these for Genesis's, Super NES. There's even a TurboGrafx one, which sounds really cool. You know, there's different brands, different qualities. This one, you know, I'm not one to like look up what something costs, but I just wanted to check out the brand. And this one I got seems to be a really, really cool, like good, legit brand. That was just, you know, thrilling to get it, man. It really just took me back. I was like, oh man, I got like a present. So, you know, I had some days off from work and just kind of hung around. Like I said, I watched a lot of Sopranos, been picking up the DS. Oh, another funny game I got that was $1. It was Red Bull BC. I don't know what this was, but it was 80 cents. Apparently it's a breakdancing game. I played it for a minute or two. Got a skateboarding game, EA's Skate It. I guess it was their competition to Tony Hawk. I actually kind of enjoyed it, even though you kind of got to move with the touchscreen a little bit, so not quite used to that. But I was really happy. I mean, I picked up, man, probably 15 to 20-something games between some Game Boy Color, a lot of DS, 3DS, and a couple cheap Wii games. And I spent around $60, you know, which is like the price of like a new game. And I was just very happy with what I got. I just got like a bag full of shit that I just pull something out once in a while, you know, I could pop it in. And the 3DS has just kind of been like one of my systems lately. I've really liked collecting for it, and I think that's going to be my thing this year. Just decent looking, cheap ass 3DS or DS games. Just going to start snagging them up because they're really one of the lower priced games you can get nowadays.
Oh yeah,
and there's such a wide variety. You know, like I said, you got your great rhythm games, your bad rhythm games. You got lots of good RPGs. If you like puzzle games. Like I said, these little murder mysteries. I got a couple find the secret things, you know, vampire mysteries, and it's got some puzzles and such. And I even picked up a wrestling game, TNA Cross the Line. I didn't know they Excuse me, I didn't know they made this on DS. And it's pretty horrible. The ring is like gigantic, and they make some funny noises when you beat each other up, though. So at the end of the day, like it's okay. It's one I won't play too much. DS has not had the greatest, wrestling games on there, but overall, I've played a few games that have been pretty cool, and I got a little stack of more. I'm gonna knock out some more coming up, and that's been about the gamut for me.
Nice. Now, I haven't really been playing too much. I need to play some more Xenoblade Chronicles X. I'm like on chapter 8. There's only 12 chapters. I'm almost done with it, but I've been kind of doing the same thing as you, James, with Yakuza, as I've been kind of relishing it and just kind of taking my time and just not trying to just plow through it. Because the thing is, and I still get people asking me about the game because I do hold it in such high regard. This isn't a game that you can just play for, 30 minutes, put down, and just go and do whatever. And at least that's not the way I am. Because when I play this game, I want to get something accomplished. Rather it be, leveling up a couple of levels with my characters. Or if it's, just beating a chapter or finding a new area to explore. So when I play this game, I have to have at least, and I've timed it, I have to have at least 3 hours. At least 3 hours to play this game to say, okay, I accomplished something. So, yeah, I haven't been really playing too much of it just because I've been so busy, but I've been playing a lot of arcade titles. I've been playing Mystic Fighter, which is a really interesting Konami ninja game that plays in the style of Sunset Riders.
Oh, wow.
I'm actually going to be probably doing a Let's Play of that very soon.
There's a game I want to tell you, Power Metal Gamer. My friend Tadger, he put up a clip of a fighting game, PS1. I don't remember what it was called, but it had a Steven Seagal knockoff looking guy on it.
Yeah.
And I'm a sucker for crappy fighting games, and I think it was one we got over here. He is in Europe, so it could be a Europe only game, but it just I have to get the name of it from him. It looks pretty awesome.
But yeah, I've been playing a lot of arcade games. Playing a lot of Neo Geo. I played last night actually. I was playing Blues Journey, which is a 2D platformer for the Neo Geo. It feels a lot better playing it with a control pad than it would be on a joystick. Been playing that. Playing G.I. Joe, another Konami classic. I've been playing Samurai Showdown 2. I played some of that last night.
Would that be the arcade G.I. Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been. I may have played that at Fun many years ago, but it looks really cool. G.I. Joe's had the Atari games I thought were okay for what they were. I personally loved the first NES G.I. Joe game.
Yeah.
That one was great. Atlantis Factor, not so much. And then recently they had one based on the newer movie, which for what it was, I thought it was kind of okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's been pretty much me in a nutshell, just playing lots of Neo Geo. I've been playing, Samurai Showdown. I played Rage of the Dragons, which is a really awesome fighting game based off of Double Dragon. I've been playing that, and not to be confused with Double Dragon from the Neo Geo. That was another 2D fighter, but this one's like what came out afterwards, and like the sprite work and everything is just so cool. It's so good.
Is that the Double Dragon 5? That's like the fighter game, or is it?
No, it's the one after that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Rage of the Dragons. That's really good. Also played King of Fighters 2001, and I played SNK versus Capcom. So
you need to play Garou, Mark of the Wolves.
Oh yeah, I got that as well, but I hadn't played it. But
if you want to play it, pick my man. It's this guy. He's a big black dude and a yellow gi with an afro, and his name's Butt. He's my favorite guy, man. I tend to like the karate style games on there, but it's really Garou is kind of like the King of Fighters version of Alpha.
Yeah, it's really good. I have it on the Dreamcast, and I've played it a little bit, and I got the arcade ROM. For some reason, I just haven't played it yet, but it was really fun on the Dreamcast. I mean, This is one of those games that the sprites are just so detailed and
that one. Last
yeah.
Blade, I think those were a
yeah.
couple that were on the Neo Geo. Another amazing weapon-based. A little bit more fan of Last Blade than I am Samurai Showdown.
Me too.
It's got something to it. I always like the guy. He's like a sickly dude. We always said he had AIDS. He's got like blue hair and he fights all like kind of hunched over. That was my dude on there.
That's awesome. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I've been playing. I've been playing a lot of arcade and looking at my Xenoblade Chronicles X strategy guide and being like, man, I need to start playing. Oh yeah, one more other thing before I go into the plugs, but one other game I was playing is I actually popped in Super Mario Maker yesterday. I hadn't played Super Mario Maker in months, and all I can say is, you know, I was thinking, I was like, man, you know, I'm putting Mario Maker. I'm pretty sure, you know, the community's still strong and stuff like that. Because I've been wanting to play a lot more levels that I've been seeing some of my friends drop down because they recently got it. So they've been making some levels. I'm like, I want to play some of these guys' levels. Some of the levels that people have been making since I've been gone have been insane. Oh my gosh. Like, I mean, it's just, I don't see that game ever getting old. I cannot imagine a day that I will log into Super Mario Maker unless they close down the servers, going into Super Mario Maker and not seeing anything being created. Because, I mean, it's just gotten more and more crazy. Apparently there's more items that you can actually make the stages with, so people have becoming even more elaborate. So
it's just one. And one thing, too, I noticed with your Xenoblade, how you noticed it had an alternate cover.
Yeah, apparently.
There's a couple of games. I want to say maybe Bayonetta 2 is another. A couple of Wii games, or I don't know if it's a Wii, but maybe Wii U. I've noticed a bit more just in some games in general that have like alternate cover, especially more on the Wii U, it seems, that you can just flip them out. It's just a nice little cool option. You know, it's not a whole lot, but it's a little something that I think is a nice little fan service.
Yeah, definitely. Apparently that's only the collector's edition of XCX has that alternate cover. But yeah, I was actually putting the disc back in the Wii U to put in Super Mario Maker, and when I opened it up, I saw that it had to clear back to it, and I saw a piece of paper, and I'm like, oh, so I flipped it, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I had to switch it back, though, because I'm weird, and I like having all my spines to my Wii U games to try to be like the same color.
Yeah, they do have a kind of a different, more wraparound look that doesn't quite match up to the other ones, but it's just nice to have that little bit of extraness, I think, sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Especially with the freaking Hajime no Ippo game on the Wii, the boxing game. I'm trying to remember the name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's got an alternate cover to it. So what I like about it is because like I'm looking at my collection right now. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Victorious Boxers.
Yeah. The original cover for it is just like a boxing glove. You know, but when you actually flip it the other way, it's actually got the anime characters like Takamura and Ippo and, you know, all those people on it.
I don't have the cover for mine. That's when I bought mine. It was cheap. It didn't have a cover, and I was like, man, I loved the PS2 one. I was like, that's definitely a game. I still need to watch the anime.
Yeah.
Because I loved the game just so much. It was I appreciate a boxing game that is definitely different. You know, it's not a full simulation. It's got some story. Dude, here's one. I think it's a Neo Geo game. I want to say it's called like Boxer Joe. Maybe sometime if you get a chance, just play it. It's weird. It's a little bit of a slightly urban champion with little boxing career mode thrown in, but not as bad as that's really bad knock. It's not as bad as Urban Champion, but something drew me into it, man. I sucked at it after a bit, but I couldn't stop playing it. Like, it doesn't look that great. It's not like your typical really good Neo Geo looking game, but it's if you like quirky boxing games, it's a interesting one to try out.
Definitely. Well, guys, this is going to conclude our episode of XS Gaming Podcast. And as always, guys, if you are listening to us on Podomatic.com or on YouTube, be sure to check us out on iTunes as well and leave us a little review and rate our show. It really helps the searches and helps our show grow, and in return it helps us, put out more for you guys. It really helps the show. And yeah, that's another thing as well. if you're listening to this on Podomatic.com and you want to check us out on YouTube, you can check out my channel. That's youtube.com/XanderScullion. And it's not just the podcast. I actually just did a video recently of a look back on Final Fantasy V. Did a little review on that, and I do Let's Plays, reviews, unboxings, and of course, Excess Gaming Podcast, the audio podcast is on there as well, so you can check out previous episodes, because unfortunately Podomatic only gives me a certain amount of space and memory to keep episodes up, so I have to delete episodes, so in return they disappear from iTunes, so I tried to transfer it all to YouTube as kind of like a Excess Gaming podcast archive, so you guys can check out some of the older episodes there. But anyway, guys, as always, thank you so much for listening. Thanks to everyone who's a part of the Excess Gaming Podcast Facebook group page community, guys. You guys mean absolutely awesome. You guys are amazing. And as always, happy gaming.
Have a good 2016. Let's all try to appreciate what we have and be as happy as we can. And all you guys, have a pleasant evening, everybody.
Can't get enough of Excess Gaming Podcast? Be sure to check out our audio podcast on Podomatic.com. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes. And if you have a YouTube channel or podcast you'd like to share, be sure to check us out on Facebook on our group page and join the community. As always, guys, thank you so much for all the support, and happy gaming.